Alrighty. Alrighty. Party people. Alrighty, party people. It's time. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the weekend Saturday Brain Domain. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Also, I have a very important announcement. We've hit a threshold with the question box. We've hit a new milestone. Congratulations. Congratulations, you are question box number 6969. Congratulations. I found out we're not leaving to go camping until Monday. We decided we're leaving Monday, so I had an extra day. So I figured, hey, let's stream today. I'm gonna go over to my sister's house later, so I've got some time. So I figured, why not put a few hours in? See what the people are thinking. Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well today. I'm looking forward to going camping. I'm also going over to my sister's later today, so that'll be fun. I'm gonna watch some movie. I've rekindled contacts with friends. It's always nice. Something I'm a little overdue for myself. I'm the type of person I can get very caught up in what I've got going on in my life. I'll just get caught up in reading books and playing single-player games. Hanging out today. Thank you for hanging out today. If it wasn't for you all, I would just be here talking to myself. That would be really silly now, wouldn't it? The stream is only made possible due to the support of viewers like you. So thank you. We've got the question box open. We're going to be taking some questions. Going over to my sister's at like 7, so We've got some time. We've got a couple hours. We'll see how things go. No presentation today. It's a Saturday. Why would... No presentation on Saturday. You don't have to worry about having to take notes or worrying about what's going to be on the midterm. Don't worry, I will put out a study guide before the midterm. I want to do more presentations like the one we did yesterday, where they're just a bit more concise. It was just a couple of slides, going over a topic, nothing too overwhelming. And I've been thinking about what types of topics I want to do in that fashion. I probably, and this is something that I probably should have done a long time ago, but there's no time but now. I think I want to do more presentations like that where I just talk about like specific diagnoses. Because all those diagnostic labels can be confusing sometimes. Like, what's the difference? What's the difference between schizoaffective disorder and bipolar disorder with psychotic features? I know. But it's a small distinction. Diagnostic labels can be a bit confusing. And the thing that really gets me is, you know, I've worked with a lot of people who have different diagnoses, and one of the things I regularly like to ask them is, has anyone ever told you what this diagnosis means? And would it surprise you to hear that most of them say, no, no one's ever told me what that means. Feel free to call me dumb, but I think it should be a part of a person's treatment to understand what their diagnosis entails. You know, people get labeled with the diagnostic, they get this diagnostic label, right? And then they look at it like it's a genetic condition. Like, this is just something that's gonna be with me for the rest of my life. This is just something about the way I am. This is just part of my identity. The man himself, the man, the myth, the legend. 62 months. Chat, show some respect. It's good to see you, my friend. Good morning. Good morning. Blessed angel. It's that founder badge, brother. You can't tell someone, hey, this is what's wrong with your brain, and then not tell the person whose brain it is what to do with that information. Yeah, let me get back to what I was saying. So, let's just have a hypothetical. You know, a person goes into a doctor's office because they've been having a rough time lately. They've been feeling detached, they've been feeling anxious, maybe they've been feeling a bit depressed, and maybe their thoughts have been a little bit loopy. Maybe they've found that their mind just kind of feels very foggy, or maybe they find themselves just thinking things that are a bit unrealistic. And so they go into the doctor and they tell them all about it, all of these things that they're feeling, and then they get a diagnostic label. They look at the symptoms and they say, well, it sounds like you might have this. And then they tell you whatever they think you have. And I feel like a lot of people view that like they're being diagnosed with some sort of incurable disease. As if this is just something that you're gonna have for the rest of your life. The way I view it, though, is that a diagnosis, a diagnostic label, it's just an assortment of symptoms. And you can work on symptoms. You can see improvement with those symptoms. Some of it might be able to be done by developing new coping skills, or by unpacking and processing trauma, or in some cases, medication. You can work on symptoms. But what I've seen a lot of in mental health is that a lot of people are made to feel like this cannot be cured. This can merely be managed. We spend a lot of time talking about post-traumatic stress, but not a lot of time talking about post-traumatic growth. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with just our good old friend capitalism. You know, you gotta make money. You gotta make money. And if you cure somebody, how are you gonna continue to make money off of them? They want to get you on that subscription plan. They want to get you paying every month, forever. Anyway, one of the things that I liked to do whenever I would work with a client who didn't receive any sort of psychoeducation regarding their diagnosis, that was one of the things I liked to do with them. It's like, okay, so you were diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Here's what that means. Here's what those symptoms are. Here's what those symptoms mean. Because even knowing the symptoms can still be confusing. It's like, anhedonia. Like, what the hell is anhedonia? I don't speak Latin. Anhedonia is a thing that they'll use as a symptom, and it basically just means a lack of enjoyment, a lack of pleasure in life. Things just feel very dull, and you're having a hard time finding enjoyment in things. It's a common symptom that you see in depression. You see it in other disorders as well. Do you have that? No, I don't. But there have been times in my life where I've felt it, because it's just a symptom. It's something you see pretty commonly whenever a person is depressed. Things just don't really feel that great. Well, the thing about me is I love to have fun. I love having a good time. I try to have fun no matter what I'm doing. Even if I'm just hanging out at the house. Come across as quite stoic. You know, I've found a lot of wisdom in the stoic philosophy. There are people who will misinterpret stoic philosophy and they will use it as a justification for just being completely emotionally detached, and that's not what it's all about. Being stoic is not about being detached from your emotions. It's about detaching yourself from the things that are outside of your control. I'm not even that high, but think about this for a second. It took 14 billion years for this video stream to be able to reach me. A real-time, live, accurate representation of another location right here for me to view in a separate location. At least in our corner of the universe it did. There are other corners of the universe where they might have figured it out a little bit sooner. The universe is probably like, how the F did you figure this out? The universe is probably like, hell yeah, brother. All according to plan. I used to be able to finish about 3 books a week, but now I'm lucky if I finish a single book in 3 weeks. That's still not a bad pace. That's still a perfectly fine pace, I'd say. I remember being that way too, especially when I was younger. I would just tear through books. But now I can... You know, sometimes I'll still speed through a book, but it still will at least take me a couple weeks. I don't have as much time to just sit down and read for hours and hours and hours. No, but it's literally a macroscopic analog to quantum tunneling, I am convinced. I understand some of those words. I think I get what you're trying to say. Sometimes I worry that if we were to invent a true quantum computer, then the universe would blue screen. Whatever system the universe is running on, whatever program is operating this simulation, it would crash because it's not meant to handle. It would just go dunk. Big sad face would pop up. Like, we need to restart your system. New Big Bang, guys. Take it from the top. It's a big moment in brain domain history. We've done it, chat. We're at question 6969. We did it. We did it. That's a lot of questions. We're also really close to 7K. question box submission came with a trigger warning, so I pre-read the whole thing, and I think it's fine. And you didn't even celebrate question 6767? I did! I did! Some of you were there. Alright, I'm about ready to get to it. I'm about ready to get down to business. Congratulations to me playing myself. I gave away that I wasn't here. And yeah, we grade on attendance, but it's the honor system. We don't take attendance. I just assume that everyone is here every day. Is this being recorded? I hope so. I sure hope so. Some of us exist in the quantum realm. We exist in the fifth dimensional space. Time is just a flat circle. If you know, you know. Just so you know, sometimes I like to say stuff that's just really weird because I think it's funny. But I realize that sometimes it might be confusing. Or like, what the fuck? What the fuck did you just say? I don't know. I just thought it was funny to deliver it in a deadpan. So yes, this question comes with a trigger warning. But I did read through it. SA trigger warning. Nothing graphic. It's just mention of it happening. That's all we're dealing with. But thank you for the heads up. Hey guys, it's me, the husband hater. You may need to specify, we've got more than one. Actually, I think many of us are haters of this husband. we're all husband haters here. Previously, madly in love, until March of this year. We've been fighting steadily, never a moment of peace with him, so I just make myself have fun at this point, despite his negative energy. Yep. That's all you can do. You don't have to attend his pity party. You don't have... It takes two to tango. An argument is a co-op game. I guess it would be PvP, competitive multiplayer. Let's not get distracted. And I was doing very good until recently. He has been coming home drunk from work between 2 and 4 p.m., which is a bit early on a weekday to be doing that several days in a row. Is he even going to work? Or is he just going out and getting drunk and saying that he's going to work? What? The bar is in his work parking lot. Okay. Yeah. It just sucks that when people are going through hard spots in life, including, you know, difficulties in their marriage, that they turn to stuff like alcohol as if that's going to do anything to make the situation any better. It might make you not feel about it, or it might make you feel way too much about it. That's the thing. It's hard to pick. It's inconsistent. But drowning your problems in alcohol has never helped anybody. Always just ends up making stuff worse. He goes on lunch and after work. He does it on purpose. He will bring shots home and take them in front of me and stumble around like, I'm like, okay, buddy, wrap it up. And he's doing this at like 3 in the afternoon. Like, this is something he needs to snap out of. Because this is treading dangerously on the road to alcoholism. That really is just like, this is just some alcoholic stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff alcoholics do. Get drunk every day, random times a day. Drink while they're at work, immediately after work. Go home, try to start fights with people. He is actually full blown. It's been happening for a while. And he's driving himself home from work. His parents came to the house and took his beer. Well, it sounds like they're over his shit too. Or did they take it for a different reason? Sounds like they're over it too. He was yelling and freaking out so bad I had to steal the truck and leave the house. This guy's like teetering on like having to go into inpatient treatment. This is the type of stuff that a person does when they are teetering on the edge of having to go into treatment. I'm not sure what your relationship with his parents are like, but since you guys are staying with them, and they're tired of his behavior too, and they're probably not sure what to do, I would at least talk to them and just be like, hey, listen, I'm scared. Like, I don't know what he's doing, I don't know what he's thinking, but this is scary, so we need to figure something out. You live down the road from us? Oh, so they just live nearby. Oh, I didn't know if you were staying with him or not. So you called his mom to come calm him down and you left the house. Okay. Yeah, I would just stay in communication with his parents. Because they're probably worried about him too. Moved out in February. Okay. Okay. He's been doing this 3 to 4 times a week, and he loves to try and embarrass me or pick fights with me. I'm sure that'll win you over. Right? That'll win back your love. It's like, brother, you are on a sinking ship and your instinct is to just start smashing stuff. When you should be bailing water. You got your priorities all crossed. Yesterday and the day before, he was drunk and admitted that he was being mean to me because I quote-unquote teased him and didn't you-know-what with him. The teasing was me being dead asleep and being woken up to things. Mind you, I did get essayed like this in college by a close friend of mine, and he is aware of this. He since has said there is no point in sleeping in bed with me, or him even living here, if we aren't fanoodling. I'm biting my tongue. I'm going to keep reading. Mind you, I haven't been because he has been a disgusting, rude piece of shit and a hot mess to top it off. Yeah, he's not exactly wooing you, is he? He's not really doing much to get the gears in motion. The way he's acted, it's probably locked up like Fort Knox. He makes my son sleep in the bed with me, and he sleeps in my son's room. It's been less than a month since we last you-know-what, and he was actually crying one night when drunk because he hasn't gotten any in so long. Sorry that you married a baby. It must be disappointing realizing after the fact that you accidentally married a baby. You're like, oh, I thought this was a full-grown man. But it turns out it was actually a baby the whole time. We've all been there. It's an easy mistake to make. We've all been there. That's the part that hurt my feelings. I am meat, apparently. And the fact that he's crying about it, he's crying about not being able to just... Like, this is, like... It's very unga-bunga. It's very Cro-Magnon. We didn't even do it that much. He never really wanted to. Now it's like the world is ending. I don't get it, TBH. Alright, so there's something that will happen with men sometimes where it's not necessarily about getting sex. It's just knowing that they could get it if they wanted to. It's just like a status thing. It makes them feel accomplished. They don't even have to do it, they just have to feel like I could do it if I wanted to. And so, what it's sounding like is the fact that he's been shut off. The riverbed has run dry, and he can't go fishing. It's got him all bent out of shape because now he doesn't feel like a man anymore. Because he's lost that access. A lot of men equate their masculinity to their ability to obtain sex. It's not even about getting sex, it's just about the perception that they could get it if they wanted to. It's like a status thing. Makes them feel like they're accomplished. Makes them feel like they're some sort of conqueror. How about pay the bills instead? Right? I thought real men provided. Pay those too, by the way. Right? Like, humph. This guy needs help. This is sad to see. He's got some stuff going on with his own perception of himself, and he is coping with it by drinking and bothering you. So maybe you could come together with his parents. You seem to know both of them, so that we can try to get this guy some help. It sounds like he needs some help. I just want to say he wasn't like this to me before we got married last October, but this is just so disgusting it has driven me into a hole. However, I am still insanely motivated to pursue my certification where my starting salary will be triple what it is now. I'm sensing that this guy is feeling, perhaps, this is just speculation, but I feel like perhaps he is feeling a bit emasculated. He doesn't pay the bills. He can't get any. He's just crashing out. It's not unusual to be in a relationship and everything feels great, and then things change after a span of time. It happens. So don't blame yourself for not recognizing things earlier. You know, in hindsight, I'm sure that there might have been some red flags, but it's hard to spot red flags when you're caught up in things. You know, when you're swooning. You got those rose-colored glasses on, so it makes the red flags just look like any other flag. I'm trying not to feel too guilty, but, you know. Guilty for what? Not knowing what you didn't know? Should we feel guilty for not knowing what we didn't know? Especially when you now do know. it's funny that way. Guilt will make us feel bad for not knowing something when why would we have known it? There was no real reason for us to know it. We're like, oh, I should have known better. It's like, how could you have known better? You needed that thing to happen so that you could learn and then know better. I think what that guilt feeling is trying to teach you is to not let this happen again. To learn from this so that you can do differently moving forward. Lesson learned, holy moly. Hey, sometimes when there's an important lesson to learn, life really lays it on thick. It doesn't really give you the option to ignore it. It's highlighted, underlined, circled, size 72, bold, impact font. I've upped my workout routine and been steady on eating better. For some reason, him getting worse and worse is motivating me to take extra care of me and my son. And so in some bizarre way, it's almost like he's doing you a favor, as weird as that sounds. Like, you being so messy has actually encouraged me to do better. So, in a way, thank you? I feel like it would have been all too easy for a person to slide down into it with the other person. It happens a lot in relationships. One person starts to make a slide down and the other person slides down with them, and they kind of reinforce each other. A lot of people out there, they kind of enable themselves all the way down. You know what I mean? I appreciate the space he is giving me, even if it isn't for the right reasons. I really hate this man, but he makes me feel like a piece, and he makes me feel like a piece of meat. Yeah, he's been treating you like one. There are plenty of people who motivate me to be better out of pure spite because I refuse to be like them. Hey, spite works, okay? It's a good tool to have in your toolbox. It doesn't need to be your only tool, because you don't want to just be full of spite. You know, a very spiteful person walking around with a big chip on your shoulder. But it is a nice tool to have in certain circumstances. You know, that feeling of, I need to outlast my enemies. I gotta keep going because I gotta outlive this motherfucker. I'm gonna do better because fuck you. It can be very helpful. It can be very helpful, especially if you feel like you've got nothing else left. Spite can be a powerful tool to help you get some leverage whenever you're in a really low place. But it shouldn't be your only tool, because that just leads you down a different path of self-degradation. You also want there to be room for joy and compassion and understanding in your toolbox. He also said it's effed up that I don't want to have his kids. Why would you want to have his kids? He is a kid. Like, he is a kid. I don't know. Okay, so it sounds like I'm gonna try to be empathetic here, even, you know, this guy, he's doing some shit that it really sucks. You know, it's inexcusable the way he's acting. But I'm going to try to just encourage a little bit of understanding of what's going on with him. He's going through something right now. He's questioning, like, who he is, his value as a person, his role in the world. So he's going through some stuff right now, and he could use some help in getting through that thing. This doesn't excuse the way he's acting, this doesn't excuse how he's treated you, but it can help to explain why he's doing what he's doing. And so he clearly needs help, but it doesn't have to be from you. There are other people in his life that can offer him that help. There are other places where he can find that help that he needs. It doesn't have to be from you. And you don't have to just be the target of all of his abuse. You know, another part of why you might feel guilty is because you might feel like I need to help him. I need to do something about this. Not necessarily. He needs somebody objective. He needs somebody who's detached from the situation to help him. Because right now you have too much personally involved with this situation. So you can't offer him the objective help that he needs. It's going to feel like you've got a personal bias. He needs somebody who doesn't know him. Somebody he can meet up with, tell his story, share with what he's going through, and get the help that he needs. He needs a non-biased third party. And I feel like since his parents are around and they are aware of the situation, you know, it can be up to them to help kind of push him in that direction of getting that help. You know, I'm sure you feel bad about it and you feel like you want to help, you want to do something about it, but you've got other things that you need to take care of. You've got a child to take care of. You're working on getting certifications. You've got work that you're taking care of. You don't need to take care of this overgrown, drunk man-child who just does nothing but annoy and harass and try to fondle you while you're sleeping. That's fucked up. I hate this, but I am fighting to not let this suck me to the deep hole of the unproductive depression. It sounds like you can see the hole, right? You can see the hole. And you're on the outside of the hole, and you're kind of circling around it, and you're making sure that it doesn't suck you in. You're doing what you need to. But it might also be helpful to think about, what else could I do? You're already doing a lot to keep you from sliding into the hole. But what else could we do? You need to find someone who is outside of the situation to offer you that line to keep you from getting pulled in. Because if you're just stuck in the situation, you need somebody outside of the situation to throw you a rope. This could be in the form of meeting new people. This could be in the form of engaging in new hobbies, making new friends. Just more things to give your life variety and purpose and meaning. To remind yourself that this isn't all there is to life. It isn't just me having to deal with this bullshit. There's so much more out there. Also, I'm in love, I'm exaggerating, hee, with my front neighbor who I've only talked to once. That is the trauma, LMAO. It's very millennial coded. This millennials will just be like, yeah, I've got trauma. Lamau. But I just use that for a little dopamine, nothing serious. But that gorgeous man will make me happy every time I see him, which is a nice relief. No worries though, guys, it's just something to distract me. I would not act on anything, especially coming from this shit show marriage. I feel like you're at a point right now where any other possible alternative seems better than the one that you're in. It's that sort of like, I'm not saying that the grass is green where you're at, but it does just feel like anything outside of this, any other alternative sounds better than this. You have a shit sandwich on your plate. Any other item on the menu sounds better. Even if it's just plain unflavored oatmeal. You would rather have plain unflavored oatmeal than the shit sandwich that's currently stinking up in front of you. When they're 50, thank you for the 38 months. Thank you. While we're on the subject, I want to talk about finding a good partner. Finding a good partner isn't always about just finding that perfect person who's just that complete person. They check all the boxes. That's not really how it works. That's gonna keep you waiting. And it's also going to leave you dissatisfied because if you have those really high standards and expectations, there just aren't very many people out there who are going to meet those standards and expectations. What's important to look for in a partnership is finding someone that has potential. Finding somebody that you can grow with. Because you're not perfect, they're not perfect, but together we can build on that. The relationship serves as that firm foundation that allows the room for growth. You must use the potential as well. People will always have more potential than they could ever use. We have so much tremendous potential, no one will ever completely meet their own potential. But yeah, you definitely do want to see somebody who is receptive. Somebody who is able to be motivated. You know, finding a partner will lead you to learn things about yourself, and it'll also have you excited to learn things about them. So if you're hanging on for that perfect partner to come around, you know, they gotta be over 6 foot, they gotta make $250,000 a year, they have to, you know, have an investment portfolio, they need to have a business degree, you know, you might be waiting for a while. There's not a whole lot of people who are just walking around with all those credentials. I just want someone to love me for real, low key. Do you think that your husband loves himself? No? Then how in the hell is he gonna love you? It's important to learn how to love yourself. Loving yourself has nothing to do with liking yourself. It's different. There might be things about you that you do not like. I don't like, perhaps, that I'm impatient or anxious or whatever it might be that you're conflicted with. You might not like those things about you, but that should not stop you from loving yourself. Because it is only through loving yourself that you can actually do something about those things and like yourself more. Also, you're not only doing it for you. Sometimes we resist that type of self-love because it feels selfish. Don't the people in your life who love you, wouldn't they want you to love yourself? Wouldn't it make them happy if you loved yourself? So you're not just doing it for you, you're also doing it for everybody that cares about you. They want to see you happy and healthy, experiencing joy. You have to live with yourself every day of your life, you might as well be a good roommate. The chillest drill sergeant. He catches you slacking off, but he lets you get away with it. Because he's cool. That's just me. That's me, though. That's how I view myself. I wonder if me loving myself made me stop liking my husband, like I learned my value over time and just started resenting him. So there's feelings of resentment. And it's understandable why there would be feelings of resentment towards him, for sure. And this would be tied into those feelings of guilt that you mentioned. But do you feel like you also have some resentment towards yourself? It's not unusual to feel that way, especially if we've been if we've ever struggled with our self-image, or we've ever been depressed and we just accept poor conditions. Whenever things start to get better, whenever you start to pull yourself out of that, it's not unusual to sort of feel that feeling of resentment towards yourself. Like, why did I let this happen? Why didn't I do anything about it? Why did I let myself put up with this? But again, you don't know what you don't know. You learned the lesson that you needed to learn. And you can apply that going forward. So those feelings of guilt and resentment, they often come, even in moments when things are getting better, which is pretty insane. But I think it's helpful to anticipate them. Getting better doesn't always feel good. And I think that's why people avoid doing the work that they need to do, is because getting better should feel good, right? Getting better should just feel wonderful all the time. But it's not. It's more like physical therapy. Sometimes that shit hurts. Sometimes that shit leaves you feeling sore and beat up. But it's for a greater goal. Less pain overall. More satisfaction and peace. That peace is worth fighting for, and this is just you fighting for it. My parents and friends saw it from the beginning. Well, at least now you know that the people who are looking out for you, they can be trusted. Because it's not unusual to have people around us that say, hey, you shouldn't do that. Hey, that's a bad idea, but we think we know better. Now I'm a little sad. I don't know why. I think it's my period. You know, the heightened hormones, you can use that to your advantage. That heightened level of emotionality, it could let you do some good work. So long as the emotions don't overwhelm. How? It encourages a deeper level of emotional expression, but that level of emotional expression can at times feel overwhelming, and that's when it can kind of be a double-edged sword. But whenever your emotions are flowing, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can actually be a good time to get stuff done. It's like, hey, I'm trying to paint a picture. I've got all the paints out. I got all the tools right here. Going through it also helps you to have mastery of your emotions. It's true. It's also good exposure to allow yourself to experience your emotions and to respond to those emotions. One of the things I always encourage people to do is to allow your emotions to flow through you freely, without resistance. It's the resistance that really causes us turmoil. If you're sad, allow yourself to feel sad. It will pass. But when we're feeling sad and we insist upon ourselves that we should not be feeling sad, I should be feeling some other way instead, that's when it becomes a real disturbance. That's when you get a blockage and it makes you emotionally constipated, and that shit hurts. So you need some fiber for your feelings. You know, too often we avoid our feelings, we run from our feelings, we displace our feelings. There's so many things that we do with our feelings aside from just feeling them. And that's the best thing to do with them, is to just allow them to move through you. If you're feeling sad, feel sad. If you're feeling angry, feel angry. Don't fight it. Validate it. Sit there with it. Notice what it's trying to teach you. And then allow it to move on. Don't try to swim upstream. You're just going to get tired. You're just going to get all worn out. Congratulations on being number 6969 in the question box. I decree that the current cyclosporiasis outbreak be called gonorrhea. It's an honor, that must be good luck. It's a sign from the universe. Anyway, I hope your husband gets the help he needs. I don't think he's an evil person. I just think that he's a troubled person, and he's going through a hard time and he's not handling it well. And it would be nice to see him get the help that he needs so that he can do better. But you don't need to be a part of that. You're over it. You're ready to move on, and that's okay. When do you think it is a good idea to be diagnosed for a mental health disorder? Ah, okay. This is a good question. It feels like there is such an emphasis on being put on formal diagnosis these days, and it does give you better access to resources, but it can also get very expensive and daunting to bounce from one specialist to another, and when you do get diagnosed, it seems to be all anyone sees of you. Yeah, exactly. So making a decision feels like a double-edged sword sometimes. It definitely is. Let's talk about this. So, first off, depending on what your symptoms are, you can receive treatment without ever receiving a formal diagnosis. There are a lot of just regular primary care doctors that will prescribe things like antidepressants. Now, typically anything more than that, anything that's like some sort of mood stabilizer, any type of antipsychotic, in those cases, getting a formal diagnosis will probably be necessary. And a lot of that has to do with just insurance and billing. That's the real reason why, because if you don't have the right diagnosis, then whenever the doctor bills your insurance, they're not going to get paid. And so a lot of it just has to do with billing. So, that being said, there are things that you can do and you can work on yourself without ever receiving that formal diagnosis, but there are some circumstances in which it would be beneficial. Like if you're trying to apply for benefits, if you're trying to apply for like state health care, having that diagnosis will serve your case, but it's also important to remember that you are not your diagnosis. Even if you do get the diagnosis, even if you do start going to treatment, you are not your diagnosis. You are you. The diagnosis is just the symptoms that you are dealing with. And those can change. Those can get better. Those don't have to be locked in and permanent. And so that's the thing to remember. It can be all anyone sees of you, but it's important that that's not all you see of yourself. Because I've seen that happen. Working in the mental health field, I have seen that happen. I've seen people with a bipolar disorder diagnosis, and then they make it a part of their identity. And then when they act out or do things, it's because I'm bipolar. That's why I do it. I do what a bipolar person is supposed to do. And it doesn't, like, the math just isn't mathing for them. They don't realize that this doesn't have to be your life forever. But there are situations in which a person does develop a sense of identity around their diagnosis. They start going to a mental health clinic, and they start attending groups, and they start making friends there. And then the topic of discussion is always centered around their illness and their symptoms. It becomes a very big part of their life. My brother doesn't understand this yet and wants to keep me under lock for having a well-controlled mood disorder. A lot of people don't understand mental health. They have an idea of what it is, but there's so much misunderstanding surrounding mental health. You know, if you tell somebody like, hey, I have bipolar disorder, they look at you like they're just waiting for you to like blow up or something. They look at you like you're a ticking time bomb. Anyway, even if you do get a diagnosis so that you can get the treatment that you need, it's important to remember that you are more than your diagnosis, and that diagnosis might not fit you for your entire life. Symptoms might go away, symptoms might dissolve, and you might be able to do a lot better. You'll learn new coping skills, you develop new supports, you engage in healthier habits throughout the day. Working on your mental, tending your garden, it becomes something that becomes more meaningful and sacred to you, and it's something that becomes more of your focus. Instead of hyper-focusing on your illness, you focus on your wellness. Mental wellness is something that you should tend to every day. You have some presentations made to break the stigma of common mental health disorders? I think so. I think I have one that's about common misconceptions. But whenever we do talk about a mental diagnosis, that is one of the things that we always try to include, is finding ways to dispel those misconceptions. I think an important part of being mentally healthy is focusing on being mentally healthy every day. Doing little things, just making it a priority for you. Focusing on your mental wellness instead of on your mental illness. Because everyone, and I mean everyone, is at least somewhat mentally ill in some way. There's no such thing as a perfect person. There's nobody out there who just has a big, beautiful brain. Nobody's got a brain like me. It's all sunshine and rainbows. Every day is wonderful. Every day is better than the last. Every day is full of new, exciting opportunities, and I can't wait to be there. It doesn't really happen. Everybody has things that they might be afraid of, irrationally. Everybody has those little quirks. Everybody has those little challenges. It just comes with the territory of having a human brain. But those things do not define you. The things that you might find challenging, the things that might be a struggle to you, those do not define you. What defines you is how you respond to those things. It's been so interesting for me to know what my particular pitfalls and strengths are with these challenges and lived experiences, and that's great wisdom to have. Because when you truly understand yourself, you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are. And by understanding that, you can surround yourself with people who amplify your strengths and compensate for your weaknesses. And you're able to do that for others as well. You might be stronger in an area that a different person struggles in. It's important to understand that stuff. And that's only possible through introspection and self-awareness. Something that we, at times, desperately try to avoid. Like, oh no, don't leave me alone with my own thoughts. That's terrifying. The idea of being alone with your thoughts should not terrify you. Your mind should be a place of refuge. It should be a place that you can go to if you're feeling overwhelmed or overstimulated, and you can center yourself and find your balance. Hey, how's it going? Brain is pretty much just a loop of the screaming caterpillar from The Simpsons a lot of times. My brain is a loop of the PlayStation 1 boot up sound. That's what it sounds like in my brain. How it's going? How are you? I'm doing all right. I also don't know how it's going, but I know that I'm all right. We live in interesting times, don't we? We live in interesting times. Our government is insane. We got a bunch of religious fanatics trying to bring about the end of days so they can fulfill their little prophecy. And it's scaring all of the normal people. And we're just trying our best to handle all that. the world is crazy, right? And sometimes it feels like my brain is a cabin and it's got a leak and it lets the rain in, and I'm trying to patch all of the holes so that I can maintain my sanity without letting that insanity of the world leak in. What I've decided is that I'm going to be sane because the world wants me to go crazy. And I'm just very defiant in that way. Like, oh, you want me to feel crazy? I'm not gonna give it to you. I'm gonna get even more sane. Chat, we've got the question box open. We've got another question in here, but we're here to help. So if you've got a question, feel free to drop it in that box. So what keeps me going? It's not any one thing. It's a million little things. I think what kept me going at points where I didn't feel like going, where I didn't feel like I wanted to keep going, what helped me in those moments was just curiosity. That curiosity of seeing how it all plays out. You know, I didn't want to give in, I didn't want to shut myself off, because I wanted to see where things go from here. Like, okay, this is some real crazy shit. Let's see what happens next. So, 2 days ago, my best friend trauma dumped a lot of things to me, which is really unlike him because I'm used to hanging out with this guy to drink and party for hours, and I'm not the type to ask for help in heavy emotional situations. Well, yeah, now you are. Congratulations, welcome to the team. Welcome aboard. It's good to have you. You might think you're not the type, but you are now, so you should be receiving your onboarding packet soon. But of course, he is my friend, so of course I stayed and gave him a shoulder to cry on. I was so unprepared for that. If I'm put in that situation again, what's the best thing to do? It personally doesn't bother me, but I'm not very good at giving advice. Thanks, mate. See, that's totally fine. Because this isn't about giving advice. If your friend wanted advice, they would ask you for advice. But what your friend is looking for is somebody that they feel safe enough around to express themselves emotionally. It doesn't mean that you have to solve their problems. It doesn't mean that you have to give them some sort of sagely wisdom to guide them through whatever they're going through. You just have to be there for them. Just be present. Just be there. Now, whenever people come to us and they're talking about stuff that's going on in their life or stuff that's been bothering them or their troubles, we might have that instinctual response of, well, what am I supposed to do about this? How am I supposed to help? Are they looking for me to tell them what to do? No, not necessarily. More often than not, what you'll find is that the person already knows what they want to do. They just want to feel understood. They want to feel seen. That's it. So that's all you have to do, is just be there for them and allow them to express themselves. And let them know that you understand how they feel. Someone who doesn't judge, who allows them to express their feelings. That's incredibly valuable, isn't it? It can be, it's a very vulnerable thing to open yourself up like that to people, which is why trauma dumping happens in the first place, because it all kind of just builds up until you're left with the point where you feel like I've got nothing to do but just regurgitate all of this. Like, uh-oh, here it comes. And it just all comes out at once. It's actually really hard not to try to solve their problems and only listen. It seems hard because we're going against our instinct. We want to be good little helpers. We're going against our conditioning, and that's the only thing that's difficult about it. In reality, it's actually way easier. It's actually way easier to not have to come up with some sort of solution. But I think it's just, we have that feeling of like, I should be doing more to help this person. Just being there and listening and letting them open up and express themselves, that is helping them. In those moments, a person isn't even necessarily looking for any sort of advice on what they should do. They probably already know what they want to do. They're just looking to feel understood. Also, do we jump to give advice or a new perspective? We don't know if they already tried that avenue or something. Sometimes when I'm on the other end, my reaction is as if I didn't think of that or look into that. Right? It can kind of feel like we're being a little bit patronizing. You know, to have somebody be like, well, here's what you're doing wrong. You should actually be doing this thing instead. S. Duke! Thank you for the Prime sub. Thanks for that big, beautiful Prime. Any other primers? Don't forget, chat, if you got Amazon Prime, you get that free Prime sub a month. I can feel a sneeze coming. Hold on. All better. Sometimes when I'm sneezing, people will bless me after one sneeze, and I'm like, I'm not done. I'm a multi-sneezer. I'm going for at least 3-4 sneezes. One streamer sneezes 9 times every single time. I think I've hit that level, but to do that every time, that's pretty impressive. I've definitely hit that threshold before. It's wild. Got that genetic thing where I sneeze when I go indoors to outdoors with the sun out. Oh yeah, that photo response triggers the sneezing. It's science. Sometimes it's better to focus on yourself in a way that you don't tire yourself out. True. True. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep anybody else warm. For For me, I used to have a friend who trauma dumped a lot, and it got to my head, and I felt very sad because I couldn't help the situation, which caused me a lot of mental suffering. Right? This is why it's important to have boundaries about this stuff. It's like, hey, I understand that it's important to talk about this stuff, but it's unfair for us to be unloading all of it on one person. If you do want to dump some stuff on somebody, make sure that it's consensual. Don't trauma dump on somebody if they're not expecting it. You know, ask them, like, hey, is it a good time to talk? I've just got some stuff that's been bothering me and I kind of want to just get it off my chest. I wouldn't mind, you know, just dumping a little bit, if that's okay. Because if you can see that it's coming and you understand what's going on, it's not as big of a deal as if it just kind of comes out of nowhere and the person's like, oh my god, I had the worst day. Nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I had to go eat worms. My car broke down, I got fired, I got broken up with, my cat exploded. I'm having a really hard time. It makes sense why trauma dumping happens. It's like a pressure release valve. It's like a pressure release valve. You know, you've got all of this stuff that's been building up inside you, and it's been causing you a lot of stress and turmoil, and something's got to give. You got to let some of that pressure out before you have a total meltdown. The thing about trauma dumping is that it can offer you some sense of relief, but it's not really doing much to fix the core problem. You know, it's just a relief of that tension. And that's not a bad thing. It can be helpful to talk to your friends and share what's going on with you and have them show you some support. That's not unusual. That's an important part of having friendships, is being able to support one another. But where it becomes bothersome is whenever it's unprompted, or whenever, you know, it's just coming out of nowhere, or you weren't ready for it, or you've got your own stuff going on that day. Maybe you've got your own stuff going on, and then your friend's like, uh-oh, pooped my pants. And so then it just makes you feel overwhelmed, because now you feel like, well, I've got to do something not just about me, but I've also got to do something about them. And so what I would encourage people to do is, if you are looking for support, let people know. Don't just dump on people without authorization. No illegal dumping. There are designated times for the dump to occur. Scub goal met. Hot dog. Maybe we could go for a hundo. I believe. I believe it. So I think if you're looking for support from a friend, just let them know. Make sure that it's a good time. Make sure that they're okay with it before proceeding. But also be there for them if they're going through stuff too. It shouldn't just be all about one person. What you might find to actually be helpful is coming together, talking about your problems together with each other so that you can support one another instead of just one person feeling like they have all of the burden of being the supporter. You know, it's better if we lean on each other than just one person leans solely on the other person. You know what I mean? Hot dang, I didn't even notice Dr. Mario Master did 5 gifted while we were offline. You thought you could sneak that past me? Thank you. I just noticed. I'm like, oh dang, that happened while we were offline. Thank you very much. Casey Raid. Who? Don't you mean redacted? No, thank you. Welcome in. Welcome in. Raiders. Welcome in. We're just talking about consensual trauma dumping. If you're gonna be trauma dumping on people, at least make sure it's consensual. No unauthorized dumping. I have schizophrenia. I take medications to manage it. I still hear hallucinations now and then. How do I deal with it if I'm doing everything I can medication-wise? Ah, then we need to look beyond medication. Medication can be helpful when we're dealing with the symptoms of psychosis. This is true. But there are other things that we can do as well. And I find it interesting in these cases to look to other methodologies for how psychosis is viewed. In Western civilization, in Western psychology, we tend to view schizophrenia as a permanent condition. It's lifelong. You're always going to have this. The symptoms are always going to be there. However, that's not how it is viewed globally. There are alternative views to it. There are viewpoints where it's not who you are. You aren't schizophrenic. It's not like, and I don't mean, hold on, let me clarify. It's not about identifying as the label. It's just about recognizing that I am a human being who is going through a psychotic event. This is just a mental event. What's the mentality I should have when experiencing these hallucinations? To observe them as a mental event. We recognize that we are not our thoughts. We are the one that observes our thoughts. We are the thinker of thoughts. And oftentimes when it comes to these things, we can get very caught up in them and very distracted by them. And it makes us feel like this is who we are. But what I find, or what I would say would likely be helpful outside of just medication, would be having a steady routine, practicing grounding exercises to help to make you feel more grounded and present in your body, especially in those moments where our thoughts seem to be very far out. Because having that consistency, having that foundation, that is what allows us to maintain our sanity. And so I would try to look at it as you're tending your garden, your mental garden. And it's an ongoing, everyday thing. You know, having a diagnosis of schizophrenia or experiencing symptoms of psychosis, it's not a death sentence. And for many people, it's just something that they go through. So what I would encourage you to do is to have good supports, have good coping skills, have a healthy routine, take time to do things that bring you joy. Working on staying grounded in reality is something that we're all doing. We all do it every day. I think what might frighten people is if they really understood just how close a person is at any point in time of just losing their mind, of just having something happen to them that's just so disruptive, so jarring, it just completely disrupts their sense of reality. And to put it simply, that's what psychosis is. It's just a detachment from reality. But it's possible to work to make that connection stronger, to feel more grounded, to feel more peaceful. So I would just try to work at it every day, and just try to remain optimistic about where things could go. You know, something might bother you a lot right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will bother you forever. Another thing that I find interesting about auditory hallucinations, you know, when you're hearing things that aren't real, it's just your brain misinterpreting it as real, because it's something that's being generated in your mind, and it gives you the impression of it being real. What I find interesting is that auditory hallucinations can vary depending on the culture that you live in. in Western cultures, auditory hallucinations tend to be much more harsh, judgmental, critical. Whereas in Eastern cultures, they tend to be more jovial. You know, instead of making you feel bad, they're almost just kind of just like making fun. And I think it's interesting that the type of auditory hallucinations a person would have is affected by the type of culture that they live in. That's my self-talk a lot of the time, making fun a little bit. It's not the worst thing to razz yourself a little bit. You know, like we should, like nothing wrong with a little bit of banter. But you don't need to be hypercritical. You don't need to be self-destructive, you know? Like we can poke a little fun. Dumb question. Hey. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Your self-talk used to be more mean. Now it's more silly / dad jokes. Isn't that a nice change? Isn't that just such a relief? That I'm not just like tearing myself apart all the time? Hold on, questioner. We're gonna come back to this because I've got distracted by this other point I'm trying to make. Why do we do that? Why do we treat ourselves so hypercritically? I feel like a part of it is because we're trying to protect ourselves. And if we're really mean to ourselves, then nobody else could hurt us. Because we've already hurt ourselves worse. Which, I mean, it makes sense on paper, I guess, but in real life, that's actually not fun at all to just be directed towards yourself, the meanest person you know. Especially if you're not you're not a mean person. You're only mean to you. But like, why? Why? We do it because we're trying to protect ourselves from other people hurting us. We do it because we feel like we deserve to be treated that way. It really is self-defeating. So those self-defeating thoughts. And it's important to recognize when we're engaging in those self-defeating thoughts. It's a good reminder to redirect. It's time to pivot. Is angry metal music unhealthy? All on its own? No. Is making myself angry for like 40 minutes daily normal, or can it be deteriorating over time? Or is anger from music different from real anger? Okay, this is it. This is a good question, actually, so... Not a dumb question. Let's talk about it. So, is it good? Is it healthy to allow ourselves to express those types of emotions in a controlled way? Absolutely. It's really actually quite healthy, especially if you've got those feelings inside you, to channel them in a way that isn't harmful. Because if you don't, what happens to them? They just continue to build up and there's just more pressure until eventually something's giving out and you have a blow up. And so, in a way, it's like a controlled pressure release. And so, what I would encourage you to do is to try to take that time, take that energy, and channel it into something meaningful. You know, do it while you're working out, do it while you're doing something physical. It can help you to give you that energy boost, and you can harness that emotion and transmute it into something productive. It's the best thing to do with it. It's the best thing to do with that sort of feeling is to try to make it into something productive instead of something destructive. They'll find a way out. It's true. If you don't allow those emotions out, they will find a way out. They will seep into the other areas of your life. You might find yourself being impatient or snippy with other people. You might find yourself being more reactive. And that's because we're not allowing our emotions to process properly. And so things get all gunked up. And so, no, I don't think it's unhealthy. But I do want to add a caveat here. If all you ever do is listen to angry music all the time, if that's all you ever listen to from the moment you wake up until when you go to bed, I don't know if that would necessarily be healthy for you. It might keep you in a certain headspace that's just not helpful to you. The same goes for like listening to sad music all day long. It's just gonna keep you in a place. It's like, okay, sure, listening to sad music, that can be helpful. It can make me feel like I'm not alone. It can make me feel like I'm understood. It can help me to connect with my emotions. But if that's all you do, that's all you listen to, it kind of keeps you stuck in a certain headspace. It's not easy to think about stuff that makes you happy, stuff that brings you joy, if that's the headspace that you're putting yourself in. Good DJs understand. It's true. It's true. But no, like, when I go and I work out, I have certain songs that I like to listen to while I'm working out because they help to give me that sort of like boost. But I don't listen to those songs all the time. It's more contextual. And so that's what I try to do, especially as someone who feels an emotional connection with music. Because not everybody does. It can still influence your emotion in subtle ways, but some people don't really connect emotionally with music like other people do. For some people, it's just music. It's just whatever. It's just on. It's like non-stop classic rock block, brother. You got a lot of people out there living life one non-stop classic rock block at a time. Kind of on topic, I recently found out that upbeat brass music produces a great vibe for feeling good in the morning. Oh yeah. What you'll find is that certain types of music can help to set the mood, especially at different times of day. There might be some music that when you pay attention to it, you're like, this album actually might be more fun to listen to at nighttime. This is a nighttime album. This is a daytime album. This is a morning album. This is an evening album. But no, I don't think that angry metal music is unhealthy. I actually find it to be helpful at certain times. But it's just like anything else. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with it. It's just going to keep you in a weird headspace. And it's going to shift your perspective on things in ways that you might not fully recognize. You know, if you're trying to chill and unwind and you're listening to break stuff by Limp Bizkit, it's gonna be a challenge. There are other types of music that can help you to feel a bit more relaxed, unwind. But no, I think music is a tremendous tool, and it's something that we should take into consideration when it comes to our mental wellness. When you think of your mental wellness, consider all of your senses. Not just what you're thinking about, but what you're actually experiencing and sensing. Because that factors in, that matters. This includes the sights, the smells, the sounds. What you'll also find is that certain types of music, and it's not going to be the same for everybody because everybody's brain works a little bit differently, but certain types of music will help you to enter a flow state. Those moments when you're just in the moment. You are just absorbed by whatever it is that you're doing. You're just locked in. And music can help you to do that. It's a powerful thing. I felt that music can help my emotions to flow more freely. Like if I'm already feeling sad, I'm not gonna listen to happy music to try to redirect myself into being happy. If I'm feeling sad and I want to allow that feeling to move through me, I'll listen to something sad. And then I'll just sit there with the sadness until it passes. And then the same goes for other emotions. If I'm feeling good, I want to put on music that's upbeat and uplifting. You know, it's the soundtrack. It adds to the scene. Music can also take you to different points in time. What you might find is that if you listen to music from your childhood, it will start to evoke feelings and memories that we associate with our childhood. Honestly, I feel like music is underrated as far as its application for mental health. When I think of mental health, I'm thinking of how can we approach this from all angles. Music, sound, it's just another one of those angles. I feel bad for people who don't feel things when they listen to music. Because for me, I feel like music can take me even deeper into emotion. It can take me even deeper than I could on my own. It's a very important thing for me. When you think about it, humans are wired for music. It takes a certain amount of brain power to perceive music as music instead of just perceiving it as sound. It's interesting. I feel like music that we create, it really is a reflection of the human experience. When I went to this 90s themed rave, it really felt like I was in a different time. I just wanted to stay there and escape reality for a bit. It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind. Does a bird's song not feel like a song to it? Bird song is more like language than music. Bird song is how birds communicate with each other. It's kind of like birds have different calls. They have calls that they do when they're just like announcing themselves. It's just kind of like a roll call. It's like their theme. And they'll do that and they'll sing it to each other. It's just like, hey, there's another bird over there like me. It's a way that they can kind of identify each other. They can also do it to like try to find a mate. They can do it to mark their territory. It's more of a language than it is music. We label bird language as musical. Exactly. That's the thing. We are the ones labeling it as music because to us, it reminds us of music. But to birds, it's just language. It's just communication. Have you seen that kid who can mimic a bunch of different birds? It's honestly so impressive. You might have seen this kid. He went viral because he can mimic a whole bunch of different bird calls. My favorite one that he does is the red-tailed hawk. It's crazy.
This too. This is Bird Request Part 2. And let's get started. First we get the barred owl. Next, the ring-necked dove. Next, the American woodcock. Meep. 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 And you know, there's two different species of crows in the United States. The fish crow and the American crow. The fish crow is what I'm going to do first. Ah, ah, ah. Then the American crow. Ha, 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 ha. I wonder if they're going to come soon. Then Atlantic puffin. Oh. Next, the purple martin. Whippoorwill. And keep up the requests, guys. And also, I want to say thank you to Bird Collective for for sending that box to me.
Oh, he's got a Bird Collective shirt? I've got a Bird Collective shirt. One of my favorite shirts is from the Bird Collective. The one he did at the very beginning, that's the red-tailed hawk, and it's so cool. I want to learn how to do that. The way he's just like...
This is Bird Request Part 2.
Isn't that awesome? Right, we got another question in the question box. Let's take a look. During my spiritual awakening, which also felt like a psychotic episode at times. Now, this is a topic that I do find to be very interesting. This is something that there's been some research, but not an extensive amount of research, especially in Western psychology. The correlation between having a sort of spiritual awakening and having things feel disconnected from reality. There's a practice of yoga known as Kundalini Yoga. It's known as the most potent form of yoga. You're basically combining meditation with yoga, and you're increasing your body awareness. And Kundalini Yoga, as they refer to it as the most potent form of yoga, it's something that they don't encourage people to do all on their own. Because when you start to work to enhance awareness of certain parts of your body, it can leave you feeling very disoriented, and in some cases it can even mimic symptoms of psychosis. But within Hinduism, unlocking and activating that Kundalini energy, that's an important part of reaching like a spiritual awakening. However, if done incorrectly or without proper guidance, it can also lead you to experience symptoms of psychosis. Isn't that insane? Isn't that kind of wild? Well, let me pull up this article real quick. I have to click and verify that I'm a human. Okay. So this is from a psychological journal. Awakening of Kundalini chakras presenting as psychosis. Yoga is a form of mind-body medicine that integrates an individual's physical, mental, and spiritual components to improve aspects of health, especially illness related to stress. Kundalini, meaning coiled up in Sanskrit, is a type of Hindu yoga practice. It's also related to the practice of all kinds of Hindu Tantra, Tibetan Buddhism, Chinese Qi Chung, and some Eastern martial arts. According to the yoga tradition, Kundalini is like an energy, a serpent, that lies dormant at the base of the spine. Does Hinduism and Buddhism overlap or connect in some ways? Absolutely. They have so much in common. That's like a Western. This is gonna be a terrible comparison, but that's like saying, is being a Christian a lot like being a different form of Christian? They operate within a very similar view, and they have coexisted for thousands of years. And so there is a lot of overlap within these different practices. So anyway, this is something that has been done within Eastern practices for thousands of years. This style of yoga as a form of mind-body medicine. And this is something that we're also starting to incorporate more in Western psychology. The importance of things like mindfulness. Anyway, this journal talks about the story of a 19-year-old who was hospitalized because they were presenting symptoms of psychosis, and what it was found was that they had actually been practicing Kundalini yoga for 3 months on their own. And according to the practice, that's a big no-no. And so, when you mention this in the question box, during my spiritual awakening, which also felt like a psychotic episode at times, that lines up. That lines up with the experiences that other people have had, especially in these types of practices, where they're working on that mind-body connection. Pretty cool, huh? How do you find a guide, and will they evaluate for people who are older? I think, and this is just because this is something that I've actually practiced. Kundalini yoga was something that I stumbled upon because first off, I just got into meditation. And then because I was into meditation, I also started getting into yoga. And then what I figured is, why not combine the two? And that's where it led me, was into this style of yoga before I even knew what it was. And there are definitely moments where it does feel very surreal. It does feel very jarring. It feels a little bit unreal because you're experiencing things that you haven't experienced before. You are adopting a new perspective on things when you thought that your perspective was pretty locked in, and things just feel different. And that can be disorienting. And so what I did was I just started to do research into it, and I've, tried to find balance with it. Because in my experience, what will, like in this study that they're talking about in this article, this was a young person who had only been practicing it for a few months. If you practice it slowly and gradually and don't rush things, then you should be okay. It should be fine. Where things get complicated is when people jump into it not really fully understanding what they're getting into. That's when it causes you trouble. And so if you're interested in meditation and yoga, I would encourage you to practice those things. But just take things gradually. Don't try to rush. Just listen to your body and try to follow it at a gradual pace. Is meditation and yoga something you would recommend? Absolutely. Absolutely. I found meditation and yoga to do more for my mental than other things did. I found them to be more helpful and more grounding and help me to find a deeper sense of balance and peace than anything else that I was doing. So yes, I do recommend. Just be mindful if you're going to combine the two, because things might get a little trippy. Practice the two of them individually. And if you're going to mix the two, just proceed with caution. Do research. During my spiritual awakening, I had a lot of striking synchronicities that made reality feel like it was glitching. For example, earlier one day, I randomly thought about this idea that I'd never seen before, which is a vending machine in a nightclub stocked with weed supplies, like rolling papers, grinders, and weed. It just seemed like that would make a great profit. Later that same day, my inner dialogue, which felt like a heightened intuition or guiding voices, told me to go outside and directed me to a specific spot beside a building near a coffee shop in an area I'd never really been in. When I got there, I literally saw a weed vending machine with supplies exactly like what I had imagined earlier. I even took a photo because it was so wild. This was just one of many back-to-back synchronicities where ideas, thoughts, or intuitions would line up with real-world events in a very direct personal ways. Alright, I'm back. So we're noticing a lot of synchronicities. And it feels like the universe is sending us signs and signals. It genuinely felt like I was living out Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity. Alright, so here's the thing. Carl Jung's concepts, the things that he started to introduce to Western psychology, a lot of them are based on, guess what? What we were just talking about. Those Eastern practices. The things you see in Hinduism, Buddhism. Carl Jung was one of the first Western psychologists to start to introduce those types of concepts, which have existed within Eastern studies for thousands of years, and translating them for a Western audience. And And so a lot of the things that we notice and feel that might feel surreal to us as Westerners are actually much more common and accepted in other parts of the world. I found that to be really interesting. Meaningful coincidences that go beyond chance. You know, they say if you start to see signs, you'll see them everywhere you go. So, I don't know. This was what made me feel like it was something higher because of just how many coincidences I kept coming across. I would be thinking about something deeply, and then I would meet a random stranger on the street and talk to them, and they would bring up what I was thinking about before me even saying anything about it. I have so many more examples, but it would be too long. I'm just curious to know what your take on stuff like this is. Is it really just brain doing pattern recognition? It could be, but here's the thing, we don't really know. Is it unhealthy to be skeptical if it's like a higher power orchestrating things in your reality? Okay, so here's the thing. I don't see the harm in these types of beliefs so long as it's not leading you to do anything that's hurting yourself or others. You know, these types of thoughts and beliefs, we want to avoid falling into like delusional thinking, because delusional thinking can be dangerous, it can be harmful. But I also don't want to say that a person is crazy because they feel like they're getting signs from the universe. I just don't think that that's very fun. You know what I mean? And Western psychology tends to take that approach. They take a very like scientific approach of things. It's like, no, those things, it's just random happenstance. It's just your brain glitching. It's just, and that's the thing is we don't know that actually. It could be something else. We don't know. So I don't think it's harmful to think about so long as it's just us having fun with it. But as long as we don't treat ourselves like we're some sort of divine oracle and we start, you know, selling lectures and we don't start giving people advice on what to do with life because we think we have this divine intuition. I think that's harmful. But I don't think it's harmful to say like, you know what, the universe put me here for a reason. I don't think that's harmful. Like, don't go too deep into the rabbit hole with it. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's nothing wrong with having it feel, like, whimsical and fun. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, like, be mindful of, you know, trying to stay grounded. There are things that exist that are beyond our understanding. And to pretend like we are some sort of expert on the universe just because we live in the universe, there's so much out there that we don't understand. There's so much out there that we don't know. There could be a lot going on that we're not aware of. And maybe there are things that we kind of tune into now and again. And it feels like we're seeing the bigger picture. It's not necessarily harmful. Sometimes it can actually be helpful even, you know, to feel like I'm a part of something bigger, to feel like my life has meaning, to feel like the universe, you know, I am a part of it, and it is a part of me. And so, this is really something that we want to try to stay on top of, we want to try to be mindful of, because you can very easily see how other people take this stuff and abuse it. People will portray themselves as some sort of divine prophet, some sort of oracle. They have some sort of connection to a higher power, and for the low price of $2,000, you can be connected to it too. But I think it's okay to accept these types of feelings into your life, so long as it allows you to find more joy and satisfaction in life and it doesn't cause any disturbances. You know? When you're in a flow state, sometimes it feels like that, right? Yeah, in any of those moments when you just feel like you're getting carried away by the moment and you're just in it. You're just flowing. See the next step coming? Yeah, and I mean, that's how Western science would try to explain it. It would be like, actually, you just have good pattern recognition, and so you anticipate a likely course of action based upon the things that you expect, the things that you have experienced in life. All of those things are factored in, and it's just math. And I get it. I get why people feel that way, but that's just not very satisfying. It's just not very fun. Because I feel like whenever you study a certain field of science, you reach a point of understanding where things do just start to feel a bit mystical. You know, if you're studying like subatomic particles, it's like, it's crazy that they do what they do. We can understand what they do and we can document and measure what they do, but that still doesn't tell us much about why they do what they do or why they exist in the first place. There's a lot going on in the universe, and we're just trying our best to understand it. And there's many different explanations for what that is. And so I just try to keep my options open. You know, sometimes I might feel a little bit more scientific. Other times I might feel a little bit more spiritual. And I don't think that's bad. You know, it's not an either-or situation. Just try to keep your options open. Try to have fun with it. But just remember that there will always be more to learn, there will always be more to uncover, and the universe will always be able to surprise you, even when you think you've got it fully figured out. I feel like our ability to recognize patterns is a great gift, but I feel like it is also a double-edged sword. Because we kind of get locked in. We get locked into those patterns. Interesting stuff. Pretty out there stuff, too. Pretty out there stuff. You don't normally hear Western psychologists talking about this kind of stuff, but I think it's interesting. I like to keep my options open. The universe is a crazy place. We're just trying our best to understand it, based on the aspects of it which we are able to perceive. Foreshadowing. You know, it's like... It reminds me of Dune. The Curse of Prescience. being able to see the future might seem like a gift, but in many ways it's also a curse because you kind of get locked in to that perceived future. It's wild to even be a human sometimes when I think about it deeply. It's wild that I'm sitting here blowing air through my meat tubes and I'm translating that into a vibration of air, which is then picked up by my microphone and then sent through miles and miles and miles of cable to get to you. Just so that I can do this. What can I say? The universe is a crazy place. Crazy is an ableism word. I'm told this is true. Only if you're directing it towards another person who's experiencing some sort of distress. Yes, it can be a dismissive and stigmatizing thing, but it's also just a word. It's also just a way in which I can vibrate the air. So yeah, calling people crazy when that's the ableist poet, but like just to use the word itself, it's like, no, that's fine. Because sometimes things are crazy, sometimes things are insane. But I'm not using it to, you know, label a person or to criticize a person. People are very sensitive regarding ableism, and I understand. I get it, because it's important stuff to be aware of and to talk about. But there was this one random person, I've only ever seen them pop up in chat like 2 times, and the only times they ever popped up was to say that something about like my stream title was ableist or something. And then I would try to ask them about it and then they would just never respond. And they did that like 2 times. I'm just like, it's because I was using words like fix. Apparently using the word fix was ableist. It's news to me. The other time it was because I used the word tune-up. And they were like, oh, so you think that the brain is a car? That's pretty ableist of you. I'm like, what are you on? Or you're like, okay, all right, okay. But no, I think it's just, so they would just come in and call you ableist? Yes, they would come in, call me ableist, and then leave. They would, like, I would try to address them and talk to them about it, but they just, like, okay. Sheesh. Now, whenever I encounter people like that, I'm just like, okay, I admit it. You're more woke than me. I've got work to do. What else do you want from me? I have trouble taking that seriously. People can be very unserious sometimes. Work on yourself? What do you think I'm doing? It's a daily thing for me. It's one of my favorite things to do. You know, the human brain is wired for addiction. You're gonna get addicted to something. Might as well be self-improvement. The thing about self-improvement, though, it's interesting because there's always more things that you could work on. There's always more progress that you could make. But you have to kind of reach a point where you're like, I'm okay with where I'm at. And I'm okay with things just playing out organically from here. I don't feel the need to force it. Right? Get woker. I'm already so woke. I got into the beta for Woke 3.0. Like, you thought Woke 2 was good? Wait till you get to Woke 3. It's a closed beta. That's another thing I've seen people complain about is the whole, like, Woke 1, Woke 2. They're like, there is no Woke 2. I'm like, no, it's just being woke but more refined. Because the thing about Woke 1, Woke 1.0, is that there was a lot of woke scolding. A lot of people were woke scolding as just a way of, like, making themselves feel good. And it felt disingenuous, and it also pushed people away from opening up to those kind of ideas. And so the natural evolution of that is, how can we have a conversation with somebody and understand that people learn, people grow, and people change? Dark woke. People kind of use the terms dark woke and woke 2.0 interchangeably. They're trying to be woke without doing the woke scolding because the woke scolding was just such a turnoff. Like, actually, you need to be more culturally aware because the word that you just said is actually a word that was used to oppress somebody 500 years ago, and that word should never be uttered again. And you're like, wait, what? I saw somebody on Twitter and they were like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that honey was a slur. And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, you can't call people hun. Apparently it's a slur. I'm like, this is madness. This is madness. If a person has a kind heart and they misspeak, work with them. You know, you don't have to cast somebody out or make somebody feel like they're awful because they misspoke or they said something that's out of date. Or perhaps they just grew up in a part of the world that's a bit more regressive, and so they just didn't know any better. And so that's kind of where the natural evolution comes in, is it's like we're okay with actually understanding that people are learning and growing and changing. But yeah, the whole like moral grandstanding, the purity testing, people are just over it. From what I heard, that's actually how kids would bully each other. They didn't bully each other like they used to, where they were mean to each other. They would bully each other by doing this like performative moral grandstanding. They were doing that to like shame each other as just an alternative form of bullying. Like, I don't know about you, brother, but we've got a revolution to win. can't get caught up on all this stuff. We got bigger fish to fry. Now, yeah, kids these days are terrified of being perceived as cringe. Because everybody's got a smartphone, everybody's on TikTok, everybody's, you know... The kids are terrified of being cringe. This is one of my strengths as a millennial. Millennials can do cringe like nobody else. We were born in it, molded by it. It's one of our greatest strengths. Get off TikTok. I haven't been on TikTok ever, really. I've dabbled a little bit just to like see what it was, but it's just I don't know. I don't understand that app. It's weird. But yeah, I had even less interest in using TikTok whenever it got bought out by Larry Ellison. I had even less interest in using it. I would rather my data go to China. I would rather they harvest my data. I better be careful. I might get a knock on my door for saying this stuff. Like, sounds like a communist to me. They're trying to bring back the Red Scare, so who knows? Maybe I'll get to talk to some nice men in suits. Palantir has my health data. Yeah, so that they can have that health data and then send it to the insurance company and they can preemptively deny you for stuff. I'm sure that it's all gonna be great, right? Them having all of our health data surely isn't gonna fuck us all over, right? It's super addicting and people downplay it. Exactly. Like, short form content, they call it brain rot, and it kind of does rot your brain. You're just getting the impression of learning something. You're not actually really learning stuff. You're just getting a bunch of random pieces. And it just makes your brain, oh, okay. On to the next one. You know, my friend across the street, our neighbor, you know, they've got kids and they're like, these kids, they'll just be scrolling through short form content, and I'm just like, they're going to be consuming content anyway, because that's just where we're at right now. So what I would recommend is have them watch longer videos where they might actually be able to learn something. And then maybe even have them like write up something about like what they learned in this video. Yeah, they're using AI cameras that can recognize how you walk to identify you, which is why you gotta walk like you're on a Arrakis. You gotta walk without rhythm. You gotta switch up your stride. You gotta stay unpredictable. Have a few different walks that you can switch between. Just dance everywhere. That might work. One of the walks that I'll walk like I'm an NPC in Grand Theft Auto. I'll kind of just be like, switch up my stride. You gotta keep them guessing. Won't catch me flocking. $69 viewers. Nice. Chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying this content. I've enjoyed being here with you. This stream is only made possible due to the support of viewers like you. So if you like this content, please consider supporting this stream by subscribing or by gifting a sub. Every little bit helps. Trying to hit that goal. We're trying to see if we can get to 100. I feel like we need to protect the elderly from technology. The elderly have been vulnerable to technology for a while now, but it's only gotten worse. It's gotten way worse. We're at the point now where somebody can call your grandparents and they can fake your voice. They could fake being you on video. They're like, help me, Grandma. Help me, Grandma. I got arrested. I need you to send me $2,000. Please, Grandma, help me. This is why you need a code word. You need something to kind of, or if you're on video chat, like wave your hand in front of your face. Make sure that's not somebody just using an AI filter. Pineapple juice. Don't tell me your code word. Keep your code word secret. Don't type it online. They'll find it. You gotta keep it secret. There's a special place in hell for people who scam the elderly. Which is not allowing me to use my Prime. It says try again later. Oh no! In that vulnerable age. Yeah, but you're still pretty mentally sharp, you know? You're still mentally sharp. You know, like, getting old doesn't have to mean becoming feeble and weak-minded. That doesn't have to happen when you get old. As long as you keep your mind properly exercised, you keep your mind tuned, you can stay sharp. But the scam attempts have tripled. Oh, I bet. Just because you're in that age bracket, they're like, let's keep trying. Yeah, as soon as you hit that age for like Medicare and Social Security, it's like, you're gonna be getting those phone calls now. The scammers are gonna really be going after you. They're just a bunch of parasites. My grandma got scammed a few times before a family found out and it got straightened out. Boy, when they called her back, she was grinning ear to ear and told them they wouldn't get another dollar out of her. It's crazy how common it is. And I feel like a lot of people know somebody. Kit Boga. Kit Boga, he's out there fighting against the scammers one by one. But there's still just so many of them. There's so many. And nowadays, they're probably just powered by AI. It might not even be a real human that's scamming you. Back in my day, you'd get a real human who would try to scam you. Instead of just a machine. Chat, I'll hang out for a little while longer. See if we get any more questions that pop in. We still got the question box open. Right now, I'm just chilling. Got a camping trip coming up. But I don't really need to start getting ready for that until tomorrow. I've got all of our camping stuff put together. Got my little headlamps. Oh. Ooh! Oh! I love a good headlamp. My camping knife. Look at the size of this thing. Camping knife. I also have a survival knife. You have the camping hacksaw as well? I do have a hacksaw. Well, I think it's technically called a bow saw. But I might be wrong. I think, yeah, it's one of those. I also have a little folding saw, but I'm not sure where I left it. It's probably wherever my hatchet is. I got this camping set. I'm not sure where I left the saw. It's probably packed up somewhere. Maybe it's in the closet. I'll have to check. Always good to bring that kind of stuff. Oh yeah! Good stuff to take with you camping. Some rope. You never know when you're gonna need it. Some duct tape. Some zip ties. What do you need those knives for? Camping stuff. This one's good for chopping. You can use it to split small pieces of wood. So you put it on top. You put it on top of the piece of wood, and then you tap, and then it splits for like your firewood and stuff. The other one I got because I had a gift card to the Bass Pro Shop, and I've always wanted a survival knife because I think it's cool. It's got like the serrated edge on one side, so you can use it to cut, saw through stuff. Two knives, a hacksaw, rope, duct tape, zip ties. You're also going to need a tarp. You're also going to want a small shovel. No, I'll probably just bring one with me. Like one, I like to take camping because I don't carry it around everywhere, but the other one is like if I was to go hiking, I could just have it on my belt in case I needed it. Trust me, I'm not some sort of knife-obsessed weirdo, okay? I only own like 3 knives. There are people out there with dozens of knives. I only have a couple. And I have specific ones meant for specific situations. Oh, I have a couple like other random things on my desk because I set them on my desk if it's stuff that I want to take camping. So that I know where it is. I got these this string light thing. I need to charge it. Apparently it's... How long is this? It says on here somewhere how long it is. 10 meters. 10 meters! So what does that say about people who have a lot of weapons? Owning a lot of weapons is something that men will do instead of going to therapy. They're like, I don't feel safe. I need a bigger gun. I need more guns. No, we're gonna go on a float trip. So we'll go to our campground, and then the campground like drives us up to the drop-off point, and it sends us down the river in a raft, and then we float down the river until we get back to the campsite. Pretty fun. Pretty fun. Anybody ever done a float trip before? I hadn't done a float trip until a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago was my first one. You're going to real wilderness? Yep. Going to real wilderness. That's why I have all of these scary things around me. Going to real wilderness. I mean, it's like a primitive campsite. So there's not like electricity or water. It's just a campsite with like a fire pit and maybe like a picnic table. hike out to your own spot kind. That's something I've been wanting to do, but I think I'm gonna do that more in like the fall. Because hiking and camping when it's summer just doesn't sound fun. Going on a float trip in the summer is fun though. Especially when the water's nice and cold. Oh, I love being in the outdoors. It really makes you feel alive. It's like it reminds you of what being a human is really all about. You know, you're outside doing stuff and it just reminds you like, yeah, my ancestors did this. Thousands of generations. Here I am doing that same thing. You know, thousands of your ancestors spent time outside, sat around the campfire, walked around in the woods, listened to the birds, looked at all the pretty flowers, found some cool rocks. Not very many of your ancestors worked in an office. Not many of your ancestors sat around at a computer. That's a pretty modern thing. And it can leave us feeling a bit disconnected from something that's very human. Just being out in nature. Feeling in tune with it. There's this show we like to put on. It's called Alone. The whole premise is they just drop these people off in the wilderness with a certain number of items, and then they just survive for as long as possible. Sometimes these people will be out there surviving in the wilderness for months. But it's interesting to watch because you'll see people make these mistakes that end up like costing them. And one of the things that people will do is they will work to like make a shelter, but they make a shelter that's just like way too big and it takes way too much work and it just tires them out and it burns too many calories. Because those are the things you have to consider when you're trying to survive outside, is like how much energy am I bringing in versus how much I'm expending. And it's not easy to keep your calories up, especially if you're working all day, cutting wood, lifting logs, building a cabin. You know, that stuff wears you out. You gotta eat a lot of fish to keep up with that. Also, the people who last the longest on the show, they almost always have to like build some type of like smoker so that they can smoke their food to preserve it and make it last longer. I saw this one season, this guy took down a moose with a bow and arrow, and then he made a whole bunch of moose jerky. And he had enough moose jerky to just survive for months. But then eventually he was just like, you know what, I'm not even sure why I'm out here anymore. I've got nothing left to prove to myself. I guess I'll just go home. That happens a lot on the show too. A person will be there and they're like, yeah, I could survive here for another 3 months. I got plenty of food. But then they're just like, yeah, but I'm missing out life at home. I really miss my family. And what's interesting is that they haven't really been gone all that long. They've only been gone a couple months. But it's just being that isolated that makes it especially challenging. You know, like you might go months without seeing certain people in your life, but you still have other people around. But being all on your own, it really starts to wear on you. Oh, Petey. Oh, Petey. Petey, I love you. It's been too long, Petey. I need to see you again. Hope you're doing all right. Just talking about going camping. We're going camping soon. I'm excited. I love to be outside. I'm doing good. We're going camping soon, so I'm really excited. We're going on a float trip. We've had to like postpone the float trip a few times because it kept getting rained out. Like the campground was flooded. What kind of tent you got? I've got one of those like blackout tents. It's a 4-person tent, but it'll just be me and Casey in that tent. And then we have a couple other tents. We have a few tents, actually. Most of them are like 4-person tents. We might have a 6-person tent. But normally like 4-person tent is the size I go for. You're going to Japan for a month? That sounds so fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've never been. That sounds awesome. Do you bring any of the animals with you? Sometimes we will, but not on this type of trip because since we're going on the float, they don't let you bring animals on the raft. If we were to float on our own, we could bring them because it would be our thing that we're floating on, so it wouldn't matter, but we're going to be renting one from the campsite and they don't let you take dogs on it. I don't know a lick of Japanese, so it's going to be a challenge. You just have to learn enough to get your way around. Like, hello. I don't speak Japanese. Can you help me find the train station? Google Translate will be your best friend. Google Translate really has changed how people are able to go out and travel the world, because you can now just use that to like have a pretty not perfectly translated, but Google Translate used to be really bad, but now it's not so bad. It's gotten better. Camping gear is so fun to buy, it's just so expensive. It can be for sure. I normally don't get like super high-end camping stuff because a lot of it's just the same stuff. I could see where like certain things would be worth spending the extra money, especially if you're going to be like backpacking. If you're going to be backpacking, like carrying everything with you and hiking into your campsite, the stuff that they make for that is way more expensive because it's all like super light, very compact. But just like a regular ass tent, a regular ass air mattress, like that's not super expensive. That backpacking stuff is where they get you though. That ultra lightweight stuff, that stuff's expensive. Or camping around bears. True, if you're going anywhere where there's bears, you gotta be careful because bears will try to eat your food. There's also certain times of year when you don't want to go camping in bear country. Because a lot of the times bears will, like, leave you alone, or like you can scare them off. But if you go during the times when the bears are going to be more aggressive and like going after food, like right when they wake up from hibernation and they're all hungry and pissed off, or if they have their babies with them, not a good time to go camping. Just be sure to pack your bear spray. So Missouri get black bears? I think so. Not very many though. We do get cougars though. We do get those mountain lions. Yeah, you can find, like, black bears are all over the place. Apparently they're in like 40 different states. Like varying amounts. Like you can see most of them obviously are going to be like up north, up in Canada. But then you've also just got some like randomly down here in like the Ozarks for some reason. Like, huh? Like, what are you doing down here? And then you got some down in Mexico. You got Florida bears. It's just kind of random where you might see bears pop up. Texas, apparently, if you go down to this little nib. It's that little bit of Texas. Yeah, anywhere where there's just like really dense forest. Let's see if I can. Yeah, we get a little bit of bears in Missouri. You might also get one like randomly that wanders from time to time. Sometimes one will like pop up because it wandered from some other state. When I went camping with my Girl Scout troop in the Rockies, there were numerous warnings about bears. Yeah, the only place I camped out in Colorado, and that was the place where I went where there was like a thing on the campsite where you could like lock stuff up to keep bears out. But I didn't see anything. Got a black bear in the neighborhood? Oh yeah, that'll happen. Like up in the Northeast, you'll get black bears coming into your neighborhood digging through your garbage can. I think grizzly bears are the most dangerous ones. The most dangerous bear is a polar bear. Can we get a bear comparison? So, the polar bear is the most dangerous type of bear because they live in a part of the world where food is very scarce and they will consider you to be food. They're also gigantic. Some of these other larger bears, like the grizzly bears, those ones are also very dangerous. Those are the ones where it's like, play dead. Just play dead. Don't go up a tree. They're good at climbing trees. They also can run like 30 miles an hour, so just play dead. When it's the black bear, though, they say to try to just scare it off. Just get up and make angry noises and yell at it, and it'll probably run away. But just basing it off of the color doesn't always work because some black bears are brown and some brown bears are black. Like, even, like, the thing about bears is that they don't just go after humans to, like, try to eat you unless there's just no other option. Like, you've probably heard of the documentary Grizzly Man. There's this documentary, Grizzly Man, this guy who would go up into the remote wilderness in Alaska, and he would camp next to where there were a bunch of grizzly bears. And for the most part, they didn't really bother him. Except for when they did. Whenever they decided, like, hey, this guy is gonna be an easy meal. And so your risk around bears, it does matter, like what time of year it is, how easy it is for them to find food. Because a bear's not always going to want to bother with having to mess with trying to go after a human. They'd rather eat fish and berries and honey and all sorts of other stuff. But if it's the wrong season, and they don't have those other things to go after, and they're having to become more desperate in their foraging, yeah, they might try to eat you. Just like any other animal, they try to avoid people. Or if they're trying to protect their babies, exactly, that's another thing. If they're hungry enough, or if they're trying to protect their babies, they will try to fight you. One of my toxic traits is that I feel like if I had a pet that was a giant predator, that it wouldn't try to eat me. Like a bear or like a lion. That's one of my toxic traits. I'm like, I could have a lion. He wouldn't eat me. As long as you keep him well fed. But then again, like my cats they'll try to like eat my fingers if I don't feed them. Like they'll come up to me and they'll just like, like give me that little light chomp on the finger to let me know. They're like, okay. They're reminding me that they could eat me if they wanted to. They're just those little play bites, okay? None of my cats have actually bitten me. They just do those little play nibbles. It's all in good fun. They're just trying to give me a hint. They're like, hey. Chat, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Friday, or Saturday, it's Saturday. Thanks for being here for our Saturday stream. It's gonna be a normal thing. Is anything about me normal? regular? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I might get a day job and have to switch things up entirely. Who knows? Would I do sessions? Perhaps. I'm not sure. I probably could. We'd have to call him something different, though. You'd probably have to call me a coach or something. Coaching session. The problem with that, though, is that it makes me feel like a douche. You're thinking about going hiking? I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it. Try to spend some time outside. Lately, what I try to do is I try to go outside, but I like to go out later in the day when it's not super hot. It's just too hot during the middle of the day to do anything outside. But I still try to spend some time outside whenever I can. Mental health coach. Yeah, I guess I could do some mental health coaching. I guess. I'll think about it. Alright, everybody. Thanks for hanging out on a Saturday. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna go start taking care of some stuff to get ready to go on this camping trip. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for hanging out. Had some good questions. Had some interesting discussions. Hope you all have a great weekend. And I will be back. Okay, so I'm gonna be gone Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday. Depending on what time I get back Wednesday. Probably Thursday. I'll be gone for a couple days, but feel free to join the Discord. Come hang out in the meantime. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bernie Sanders just went live. They're at some rally in Detroit, so I'm gonna send you over there. Alright, bye-bye. Yeah, maybe Bernie will notice me.